Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Travel Tips. And today we are coming to you with a very, very special and important episode about our nation's capital, aka Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. And we are very excited to bring this one to you today because there are so many great sites, great things to do, and it's just an amazing city. So we're looking forward to bringing you all sorts of great gems and tidbits today about D.C., and we hope this will inspire you to go to our capital and be proud and inspired to be an American or be happy to be visiting the United States of America. You know, we started off today with our usual song. We probably should have started off with the national anthem, but that's all right because we are here to spread the American pride and dream with my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. That does seem like the right way to do it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Good thing, though, we did slice out some time in our schedule to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone, please take off your hats, face your nearest American flag, and put your left hand over your heart. Or right.
Right hand. Right hand.
Put your right hand over your heart. And here we go. Okay, I thought you were going to do it, too.
I don't know if I could do it. It's been
I can
so
definitely
long.
do it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Right, see, now we can't like sync up at the same time.
Oh,
that's
really
true. Throwing me off.
That's true. All right, I'll say a line. You say a line. One nation,
okay. Under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all,
there
except
we go.
for the blacks.
Where's that ham horn, Jared? That wasn't too bad. I'm surprised I got it.
Yeah. Good job.
For all of our non-American listeners out there who are probably a little creeped out right now, at least I don't know about you, Jared, but when I was in school, in elementary school, we had to always recite that to start our day.
Mm-hmm. I wish I knew that it was dumb back then. I just.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
okay. Well, let's get
I do
into
love
DC.
Washington D.C. though.
Definitely. And one of the reasons why we decided to do this episode today, other than the fact that it's an amazing city, I was there last week and was enamored once again just by the beauty of the city. And
were you
got
really
to walk around
enamored? That seems pretty hyperbolic.
I was. I love the monuments. I think they're awesome. I also walked around the National Mall, which I have never done before.
What?
And
how many? You said you've been there like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, but I never went to the National Mall. I was more near Capitol Hill. I've been to the Pentagon. Where else? So,
do you have something to tell me, Chad? What do you?
that's classified information there, Jared.
I just mostly spend my time at the Capitol building and the Pentagon. Well, what's wrong with that?
Right. But Jared, if our listeners do want to know our classified secrets, where can they find them?
Oh yeah. Spread a little love is the code on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what travel tips, where we should go next in our travel series. What should we talk about? If you have any recommendations within the city you're recommending to us, we'll hear them. Sure, why not?
Пожалуйста.
And obviously, those 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, because if you didn't know it, you are currently listening to the greatest podcast on the earth. I like DC too. I've never really, I guess I've never really called it immaculate like you did, but I do like it a lot. And my sister used to live in Washington, D.C. when I lived in Philadelphia, so it was nearly a hop, skip, and a jump on down. And it was great, too, because having someone that lives there means that you don't have to fully just do the sort of mall Smith, not the mall as in like the mall where you go buy stuff, the National Mall, or in like the Smithsonian's and say like, wow, cool,
Right. Although those are also great things to see.
I mean, I have seen them a bunch of times. I was going to say 100. Right. That's not true.
Right.
But
But after you've been there a bunch of times, there's definitely some other must-see attractions. That's for sure. So let's get into some of those must-see attractions today, Jared. So I'm just going to give some of the quick and easy ones. Let's just get these out of the way. Obviously, you have the Washington Monument. You have, let's see here, the Lincoln Memorial is great. They have the Emancipation Proclamation. Or no, sorry. No, they have the Gettysburg Address written on one side of the wall.
I don't think I've ever seen the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe I've seen it from afar, but I've never walked up to it. I don't think.
Okay.
Not that I
Nice.
can remember. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, Jared, next time you're in DC, you'll have to check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks
Also,
for freeing the slaves.
There's I believe there's the World War II Memorial. There's the Vietnam Memorial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff there. Obviously, the National Mall is really cool to see as well. The Botanical Gardens. I mean, there are tons of great attractions. And the nice thing about DC as well is, although the city can be a little pricey depending on where you are, most of the attractions, actually, I think all of the attractions I just mentioned, are free because they're outside. You can walk around and see them.
Do museums count as attractions, don't they?
Absolutely.
You seem to just skip right over museums.
I was hoping to give them their own category, Jared.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Tell us about the museums.
Well, I mean, just off the bat, there's the entire series of Smithsonian museums. And I don't know if this is true, but there might be a misconception that there's just a Smithsonian museum. I don't know how many of them there are. Maybe I should have looked that up. How many Smithsonian museums are there?
I
8?
think there's 15 or
really?
something like that. Somewhere around there.
I'll let you know. And I haven't been to all of them, but I do have a couple that I have been to.
Oh, sweet. Which ones have you visited?
Let me actually pull up Smithsonian. Let's talk about which museums we would be interested in going to.
Okay.
All right, there's 17 of them, by the way.
Oh, there we go. 15 wasn't too far off. All right.
No, but it was wrong. We don't accept that here.
This is why I'm a language person, not a math person, Jared.
All right, here we go. Oh, damn it.
What?
I'm sorry, I thought I had it and I didn't. Oh, no, I guess I do have it, but I can't. This is a very confusing. Okay, here we go. The National Museum of Natural History.
Would love to see that one.
Now, that's where you're going to get your animals, your prehistoric animals, your sea
T-Rexes.
animals, your current-day animals, your saber-toothed tigers. There's the National Air and Space Museum.
I've
one
heard
kind of
that
speaks
one's
for
great.
itself. I've been to that one a couple times.
Oh, sweet. So that's worth visiting more than once, then, is what you're saying.
Yes, but I believe on some Untranslatable podcast episode, I told you about a time that I went with my cousin, and he was there for so long that I left.
That's right.
They were at that museum, and that was like the maybe third time I'd been there, and I'm like, all right, I get this. I don't need to be here for 3.5 hours.
That's fair.
The National Zoo. I don't really like zoos, to be honest with you. It's depressing. I don't freak out about animals like most people do. I don't hate animals. Chad thinks I hate his dog. I just don't freak out about them like most people do. I have self-control. National Museum of American History. I've been here. This is pretty cool. You can see a lot of like cool sort of artifacts and recreations of artifacts from Native American history and early American history before it was America. Oh, excuse me, that was the wrong one. Oh no, that was the right one. National Museum of African American History and Culture. This one I want to go to, but apparently it's hard to get into this thing. You gotta like there's you gotta go on a certain day to go without making a appointment. And if you do want to go there, you kind of have to like plan ahead. There's a couple other ones like that too, but I know that's definitely one of them because I wanted to go there one time and I couldn't.
Is it also free?
No.
Okay, because a
Now,
lot
don't
of the
hold me to that,
Smithsonian
but
museums
no.
are free, but not all of them are.
Maybe if the demand is that, I think it depends. I don't think it's. See now I'm concerned that I'm lying. Oh my gosh, why would you do this to me, Chad?
While you're looking, another one that is definitely worth seeing is the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and I have been told that this is one of the best.
Is that
Holocaust
also a Smithsonian
museums.
series one? Mm-hmm. What makes the Holocaust Museum the best?
I don't know. I've just heard they have some really amazing artifacts, and also the way all of the information is exhibited and displayed. And because what's interesting too is, there's a lot of videos and personal stories in the permanent exhibition. And then they have other exhibitions as well, some for children and stuff like this. And once again, this is the admission to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum is free.
Okay. Well, let's move on. If you want to go to the, just look it up if you want to go and pay. None of these places, by the way, if there is a cost, none of them are actually expensive, actually.
Right.
American Art Museum and Renwick Gallery. Now, you've been there.
No, I haven't.
Okay, I just assumed you have because your dad goes to all the art museums.
Right. But he was not with me in D.C. I think had he have been, then maybe.
Oh, right. You're bringing along next time.
That's right. That's right. Another great one, too, is the the Smithsonian Castle. And actually, I have a few pictures of this. Our hotel was more or less almost right across the street from the Smithsonian Castle. And it is a gorgeous building to look at. There are really awesome gardens there.
All I was going to say was the museum, before I mentioned the museum about Native American history, there's actually the National Museum of National Museum of the American Indian. That's what I was thinking of. I just noticed that, and I noticed I made a mistake, and I wanted to correct it. But I didn't want to cut you off.
You're good.
There was no recovering, clearly.
You're good. Then we also have the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which is also pretty cool. So you can witness how currency is made.
Doesn't sound... Is that... Oh, okay. That's cool.
I was going to say, I think that's pretty cool.
It sounds kind of boring, though, doesn't it?
I mean, I think I would say it'd be cool to see once, just to see how they make the coins and how they make the bills and everything.
I think the coins... The coins are pretty self-explanatory, though, aren't they?
I mean, somewhat, but Jared, how are we going to start our untranslatable bucks if we don't know how the currencies are made? Come on, Jared.
That's a good point. We have to visit all the major mints around the world. Exactly. That'll be our untranslatable travel series. We visit every major mint.
That would be pretty
cool. And then we
cool.
start our own untranslatable travel agency using untranslatable bucks. And they're called untranslatable because you can't translate them to any other currency.
That's right. Only works here.
Yep.
Yep. That's right.
All right. Do you have any more museums for me?
Well, also this I don't know if you would consider this a museum, but this is also like on my list of some of the can't miss free museums near the National Mall, which is the United States Botanic Garden, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
I don't understand what. Well, I would say I don't understand what's to do there, but I hung out there and I read a book, but I was by myself because I don't know why, but I
feel like if you're into botany, if you're into plants and stuff, there's some cool stuff. There's also a butterfly garden in there as well. Also, if you're taking a date to D.C., I feel like Botanical Gardens might be a cool place to walk around with your date.
Never mind. This is going to get too much. I would say we're taking a date to D.C. What kind of date is this?
You never know. Maybe you live in Maryland or Virginia.
Drake just flying ladies out.
That's right. What can I say, Jared?
You do better than D.C. Did you see that plane he got?
I did not, no.
It's huge.
I believe it. But yeah, moral of the story is, Drake or not, there are a lot of great museums in D.C., and they are definitely worth a visit. That is for sure.
You know a museum that I feel like might be actually interesting? And I know that's a weird way to word it. The National Postal Museum. I feel like I'd be interested in that. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot I don't think I understand about how we're even able to ship things this quickly.
That's true.
And just how they don't mess it up more often. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just the system of it and how the system progressed and the different modes of transportation they use for it. Maybe they'll talk about going postal, which involves, shooting up that was coined from in the 80s and 90s. There was a string of post offices that had shot up. And I actually lived close to one of them, obviously not during this time, way after. And Royal Oak was where one of those postal incidents happened. Yep. So I just think it would be an interesting museum for those reasons.
Absolutely. And
they probably won't talk about the going postal part, but it would be interesting.
You stole my pun right out of my mouth, Jared. I was just about to ask you, if you visited the museum, if you'd go postal. So, great minds think alike, or as they say in German, zwei Dumme, ein Gedanke, two idiots, one thought.
The way you're asking it just sounds aggressive. That just what? Am I going to shoot up the place? Is that what you're asking me? No,
I meant more.
I'm not going to.
I meant more. Are you going to go crazy? Wow. But hey, you never know. I don't know how angry you get via the postal service. I'm not sure. It sounds like you haven't had too many things lost, so maybe you wouldn't. But Jared, I want to talk.
No, it doesn't matter. I was just
now I want to talk about though 20, maybe not 20, but a few unusual things you can do in Washington D.C. as well, because we've given our listeners out there quite a few popular and awesome things to see, but maybe they've been to D.C. before and they've been there, done that. So one thing, Jared, that a lot of people, if you're a big fan of Lincoln, you can check out Lincoln's Summer Cottage, which is in northern D.C., which is pretty cool, and they have a lot of tours there as well.
You can go inside?
I believe so, yeah. And there's a statue of Lincoln in his top hat with his hand on the saddle of a horse awaiting you at his summer cottage.
Was that there when he lived there? That would be pretty pretentious.
Most definitely. Most definitely, no. He doesn't strike me as one of those guys that does that. Now, another museum you could also visit and see some quirky things, like brains and hairballs.
Quirky.
Is at the National Museum of Health and Medicine.
Ooh, I'm a little squeamish, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, me too. Me too. So, for example...
But I think it would be interesting, right? Nonetheless.
Oh, absolutely. For example, Jared, just a few things you could see here. A stomach-shaped hairball, or...
What?
It says right here, stomach-shaped hairball, a giant hairball, or the megacolon. And I'm going to let you use your imagination on that, because I couldn't tell you what it is other than probably a giant colon. So there you go. Another cool place to visit is actually a grassy patch beside Reagan National Airport, which is Gravelly Point Park. And there they occasionally will have live music and different stuff like this. And you can also watch the planes fly by as well. So
okay.
Now I will suggest to our listeners, though, if you decide to go to Gravelly Point Park, it's best to either, if you have your car, drive there, or take an Uber, a Lyft, or a taxi, or you can bike along the Mount Vernon Trail as well. And I know you do like biking, Jared, so that would be a cool option for you as well. Next up, Jared, is you can head into the crypt at the Washington National Cathedral. Okay. Would you do something like that?
I mean, I have done something like that in Austria before.
Right.
That doesn't really creep me out. Listen, we're all going to die. Get over it, okay?
That's true. That is true.
No, stuff doesn't really bother me. Sometimes it does feel a little eerie, but it doesn't bother me or anything. But I would probably check that out.
Now here's one for all of our 420 friendly listeners out there. And when I heard about this, Jared, I could not stop laughing. The DEA, or Drug Enforcement Administration, they actually have a small museum in the lobby where they exhibit psychedelics and undercover agent paraphernalia, including a pair of 1970s green snakeskin platforms, which were used in Detroit to bust people, apparently. And also they have quite the whopping display of smoking paraphernalia. So there you go.
That's kind of interesting.
So if you're into that kind of thing, yeah. Now, ironically, it is in the DEA. It's in the like a museum in their lobby.
Although it is recreationally legal there, just also. But I wouldn't recommend smoking your weed in the lobby. At least do it outside.
Probably a bad idea.
I actually have 10 things not to do in Washington, D.C.
Oh, great. Let's hear them.
Don't spend all your time on the mall. I think that's obvious.
Yep.
There's the Potomac, which is a river. You can even go kayaking there if you want. And how cool is that? And there's obviously the museums, but there's also a lot of cool neighborhoods.
Yep.
That you can visit. My sister lived in Adams Morgan. I know that's a cool one. Georgetown is, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's cool, but that's another one.
It's a college town, right?
It is a college town, yeah. DuPont Circle, maybe?
Yeah, DuPont Circle. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was off the top of my head. Don't dine at tourist traps. Now, I understand that, but I don't really know how you can tell what a tourist trap is, because it's not like there's like like authentic Washington D.C. food. And I mean, there is like a mambo sauce. Anyway, don't drive or take taxis. So that does contradict one of your recommendations, and I agree with this. Not because, D.C. does notoriously have terrible traffic, and so parking is expensive. And I've driven to D.C., and I haven't had to pay for parking because my sister didn't live in the city. But it takes some looking. Definitely takes some looking. I definitely had to do some laps around the neighborhood. And also, yeah, it's just expensive and it's hard to park and traffic's bad. And that's the same reason why you shouldn't take taxis or Lyfts or Ubers. But DC does have a very good public transportation system.
Absolutely.
They have a very extensive subway system where you can get just about anywhere that you'd actually want to go, I would say. And also, it's a very walkable city, I would say, too. Like, for example, one time, now this is a long walk, but it's definitely doable. I mean, I did it. My sister lived in Adams Morgan, and I walked from... She used to work close to the White House, and I walked from there to her place in like an hour and a half. And obviously that's a long walk.
Sure.
But like this show, like it was, I was like in the neighborhood. It's very walkable.
Absolutely, and it's
without
nice,
having to do hour and a half walks. That's obviously an extreme example,
right? But it's also nice to walk around. DC is definitely a walkable city. A lot of great things you can see when you're walking around. So I would agree with that.
Well, but hold on. You were just there, and it is currently August. What was the weather like there?
Oh, it was hot. Hot.
DC's not only hot, but it's also a very humid place, too. Mm-hmm. And there's actually been a lot of talk on the interwebs about DC being a prime city for shoulder season, which we now know how to use properly. Mm-hmm. Which is the time in between peak season and low season of tourist travel, and mostly because there's less people, and usually for the most part museums and stuff are open like year round, so it's not like there's a time where you can't go other than like holidays and stuff. But anyway,
right.
And you got to go in like September to November, or like I have it written down, March to May. That's a good shoulder season because the weather's actually nice and the humidity hasn't fully blasted in yet. Honestly, winter is not bad there. It doesn't really snow, but it does rain. So you could have a trip like Chad and I had when we were in Berlin and Prague, which was, to be fair, a pretty great trip. So yeah, I would say that it is very walkable. Some other things not to do while you're there. It says don't be afraid to cross the rivers. Don't be afraid to go to Arlington, Virginia, they say. There's the Arlington National Cemetery. There's the Iwo Jima Memorial. There's the bird's eye view of Washington and Northern Virginia from the new observation deck. Colonial Alexandria awaits just downstream with riverside dining. Tons of one-of-a-kind shops and historic houses to check out. And it was also a hotbed of revolutionary action from like Washington, Jefferson, and Hamilton and Adams, if you're into that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Alexander Hamilton. I listened to that for the first time a couple weeks ago. Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda. So yeah, you could also, if you want to, go to other places, it's easy to get to these places in Northern Virginia. Also, don't skip the mall at night. Apparently, it's very nice. I've never seen the mall at night. It's very nicely illuminated. Mm-hmm. Don't try, I 100% agree with this one. Don't try to visit every museum in one trip. First of all, it's not going to happen. Yep. Second of all, is that how you want to live your life? Is that how you live your life?
That's just information overload.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So... obviously, I said there are 17, and there's 17 Smithsonian museums. There's obviously way more museums than that. So, find a couple that interest you. They're very specific. Find a couple topics that pique your interest. Go there. Don't try to jam it. Don't try to walk your way down through each Smithsonian from one to another. Because one, there's lines, and two, don't live like that. You're better than that. These people say don't visit in summer, just straight up don't visit in summer. I agree with that. I don't really like humidity. I hated Philadelphia summers, and it was because they have similar weather, but I think DC actually might be worse. And so it's also tourist season, so it's even better. Mm-hmm. It's like you're there during peak tourist season, and the weather's awful as well.
It's hot. Oh yeah. Yeah, you should have seen all the people at the monuments and stuff when we were walking around. It was pandemonium.
Did you see any kids with MAGA hats?
I didn't. Actually, okay. I didn't. I
often see kids with MAGA hats when I'm there.
Okay, I did see a lot of
12-year-olds, 13-year-olds.
Right.
15, 16 probably too, let's be honest.
I did see a lot of Trump, apparel and stuff all over different stores and stuff, but that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Speaking of Trump, don't wing it when it comes to visiting the White House. If you want to visit the White House, prepare your eggs and rotten milk and old tomatoes weeks in advance. No. We respect the president no matter who's in office. If you want to visit the White House, don't think you just show up and they'll let you in. You need to plan ahead at least 21 days in advance. You must contact your congressperson to schedule a tour, and you can request one up to 6 months out. And if you fail to secure a tour, the next best thing to do is to stop by the White House Visitor Center, which has extremely well curated displays and videos about everything you ever wanted to know about the White House. So it's interesting. What if you're coming from out of country? What congressperson do you contact?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what they do. I'm sure they have some.
No, Trump actually allowed it so only Americans can tour the White House. I wouldn't be surprised.
That wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah. Also, though, too, you can tour the Pentagon. And I've been inside the Pentagon before, and it's really cool. It's awesome. It's fun.
I don't think I've ever been there. It's huge. It's giant. The biggest.
It's crazy.
I think it's the biggest singular building in the world.
I have no idea.
I think it might be because I know the Chrysler Building is up there. But anyway, don't forget to check out all the freebies as you mentioned. But this will actually list a couple of them. DC has a bunch of free stuff that you can visit, which is great too because DC can be kind of pricey.
Oh, definitely.
You can visit the Library of Congress and Smithsonian American Art Museum. Routinely showcases world-famous musicians, while free summer concert series are offered at Yards Park and the National Gallery of Art Sculpture Garden. Among others, the Kennedy Center's Millennium Stage, has free shows every evening at 6. Even the National Zoo, part of the Smithsonian family, is free. Check out Washington.org for a upcoming free event. So if you go there, before you go there, just check that out. I do that sometimes. As nerdy as I don't. Does it sound nerdy? I don't know. I often visit the city's website before I go there.
I think that's smart. That's just good prep, Jared. I don't think that's nerdy one bit.
Okay. I'm a travel nerd. What's it to you?
That's why we do this, Jared. Another cool place to visit, too, and you have to plan a little bit, is the Washington National Cathedral. It is gorgeous. Also, just so you know, Jared, it is the 6th largest cathedral in the world, and it was built... Well, so they started it in 1907, but it wasn't actually completed until 1990. It's a Gothic-style cathedral. However, I believe it's only free to visit on Sundays. So mark your calendars, people, if you're there on Sundays, you can visit the National Cathedral. It is gorgeous.
I think I've seen it from a car before, but I've never been there.
Okay.
But it does look great from the outside, too.
Right. Another great memorial to visit, I think, Jared, is the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, which is located beside the tidal basin as well, which is... Yeah, there's
What's tidal basin?
The tidal basin is that big area of water... I forget which building it's by.
Oh, that super still water?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that Steve Carell walks into and Get Smart.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen that movie, but I'll take your word
Chad.
for it. So right here, Jared, the tidal basin is a 2-mile-long pond that was once attached to the Potomac River and serves as the backdrop to some of DC's best-loved sites. Every spring, the tidal basin bursts with color as the cherry blossom trees, which were gifted to DC from Tokyo, bloom into beautiful colors of pink, white, and red. So there you go.
Thank you. All right.
So now, Jared, the question is, where should you stay in DC and how long should you stay?
As far as places to stay, I like Adams Morgan. I like DuPont Circle. These places are both very manageable with public transportation to get to not center city, that's to get to the middle. But you could also stay in where did you stay? Where did you say you stayed when you were there?
I was right by the National Mall. I think also by DuPont Circle.
Okay, well there you go. How'd you like it?
I really enjoyed it. It was within walking distance to a lot of great sites, some really good restaurants, and I would also suggest if you're going out to DC and you want to experience a little nightlife and have some fun, Georgetown is a great option. The bars there seem to be a little bit more affordable because they tend to be geared more towards college students. Another place, though, Jared, I forgot to mention, so I'll drop it right here, is also go visit the Wharf. The Wharf is super cool. It's like this, I don't know if it's on the Potomac or it's on water. And I know, right? Great description. But they have a ton of really great new restaurants and bars and stuff. And every night, when I was there, it was just buzzing with people. It was great. And it's not too far from DuPont Circle, easily within walking distance.
So as far as when you were doing your orientation, as far as dinner and stuff, did they have any assistance with that?
Nope.
Or was that was all on you?
That was all on us. Mm-hmm.
Did you end up going out with people?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know me, I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna
go back to my room, order room service.
I wouldn't order room service. I'm not a sucker.
Fair enough. But yeah, the Wharf is really cool. So DuPont Circle, Georgetown.
Well, what kind of food did you get? That's what I meant to ask you. That's what I meant to ask you.
So one night we got Mexican, and it was great. There's kind of a higher end Spanish/Mexican place called Mi Vida at the Wharf, which was pretty good. Also had my first ever Shake Shack, which was awesome. Super tasty.
Classic DC cuisine.
Right. One night we had, I forget what the place was called, but they had basically like Thai, Japanese, and Chinese food, so it was like Asian. That was really good.
Me. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. Wrong podcast, bird. That's another thing I like about D.C. is it is also a very international city, and not just because it's such a tourist city, such a big tourist city, because it obviously is, but just because the nature of it being such a political and sort of policy-based city. It is political and policy. That's the same thing. Just because it's such a political city, it does attract. There's a lot of what do you call them?
Diplomats,
embassies. There's a lot of embassies.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different political-based jobs there, so it ends up being a very international city, which is cool.
You see a lot of people in suits in D.C. That's for sure.
That's true.
A lot of people in suits.
That's true.
Absolutely. Well, Jared, we've covered a lot of awesome things in D.C., but what would you suggest? How long should people stay if they're going to visit D.C.?
Well, that's the good thing about D.C. is there's so much to do, but it's also very specific things to do. I don't know, in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That, I would say anywhere from 4 days to like a week and a half, depending on where you're coming from.
Sure.
A week and a half seems long. I'd say 4 days to a week.
Okay. I think if you're only going to see the sights and not really check out the museums or anything, I think you could probably do it in 2 to 3 days. Now, if you want to get the best of and do the sites and the museums, which I think it's safe to say we would both recommend.
You got to go at least to a couple of them.
Right.
Maybe one or two.
Then I would agree 4 or 5 days would be a good period of time to be in D.C.
What I like to do, and I think D.C. would be a good place to do this, kind of like what we did in Berlin, is find there are a lot of neighborhoods, not even just the ones we mentioned. There's also Capitol Hill, and there's some other ones. I don't know them, but there's a bunch of neighborhoods, and a lot of these neighborhoods have their own sort of personality.
Absolutely.
Do research into what sort of the different personality and vibes are of a different neighborhood. Find one that you think suits you, and spend a day exploring it. And find some. You can even do this when you get there the night before. Find some attractions, some not even attractions, but some spots to hit, so you're not just at least wandering aimlessly.
Right.
But then within those spots to hit, you can still wander aimlessly. That's what I like to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more, Jared. There is a lot of great neighborhoods and places to see in D.C. without a doubt. Absolutely. And Jared, just so you know, the body of water on the wharf is the Washington Channel, is what that is.
Right off of the Potomac.
Yep. That's the Washington Channel. And then across the street from the wharf is the East Potomac Park and the East Potomac driving range as well. So the wharf is cool. Check it out. There are so many great places in D.C. Check them out. Let us know where you like to go in D.C. What your favorite sites or museums might be at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. slide into our DMs on Twitter, Untranslatable1, for all sorts of Songs of the Pod and other podcast-related shenanigans. And check out our
Spread a little
Instagram
love.
for pictures of some of these awesome places in DC and elsewhere, Untranslatable Podcast. And let us know what you think of our travel tips and what we can do to make them better for you by giving us a 5-star review on iTunes and Stitcher. It would be greatly appreciated.
You betcha.
And we can make this even better for you. So we're looking forward to bringing you another travel tips episode in the near future. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, bon voyage, děkujeme, muchas gracias, and shusha.